I am in Iloilo City, and behind me is the Western Visayas National Museum, which used to be the provincial jail built in 1911. So it's a nice transformation of the jail into a museum, and we are going to go in later on. This is going to be a backdrop for another episode of the Conversation with the CEO, where I'm going to talk with the President and the Chief Executive Officer of the Medical City Iloilo, the Medical Director, and the Marketing Director of the Medical City Iloilo. Let's go inside and let's take a look, and let's have the conversation with the CEO to have an interesting talk on the Medical City Iloilo. Welcome to the new episode of Conversation with CEO, and this time here in Iloilo City. You know, they say that Iloilo City is one of the oldest cities, if not the oldest city in the country. And so it is appropriate that we are here now in a special place. This is the National Museum in the Western Visayas. This used to be end of the 19th century provincial jail that has been converted and transformed into a museum, a beautiful place for the visitors of Iloilo. But with me here for this episode are very young people, and they are the leaders of the Medical City Iloilo. They are the leaders that everyone else in Medical City Iloilo is looking forward to lead them. And to my left, further left, is Prince Celo, who is the Marketing Director. And immediately to my left is Dr. Debbie Uy, who is the Medical Director. And of course, to my right is my successor here, the President and CEO of Medical City Iloilo, Felix Villa. So welcome, Felix, Debbie, and Prince.
Thank you, sir.
And we are going to show our audience that Iloilo may be a very old city, but Iloilo is actually one of the most progressive and the most livable cities in the country today. And I am so impressed to be here. I'm always excited to be here because the rate of progress in the city reflects the vision of its leaders. No? The same way that we are going to talk about the vision of Medical City Iloilo with you as leaders of the hospital. So maybe I can ask first my successor here, Dr. Felix Villa, in terms of how do you see Medical City Iloilo being in tandem or in synchrony with the rate of progress of Iloilo City?
Medical City Iloilo, of course, sir, as we know, because of the pandemic, has actually pushed us to the forefront of healthcare here in Iloilo. And considering that we have a very proactive local government unit, our mayor is very proactive, somebody who would take the bull by its horns, so to say. It's very easy to improve healthcare in Iloilo because the government is also very supportive, let alone very, very proactive. So I think that we can take Medical City forward as long as the leadership of the city itself is also very aggressive.
I think we owe it to him to say his name.
Yes, Mayor Jerry Treñas has been very, very supportive of the healthcare industry in Iloilo City, not just for the private healthcare sector, but also for the public healthcare sector.
And you have mentioned that the pandemic really brought to the forefront the issues of health. No? And I'm sure that we know for a fact that Mayor Jerry Treñas also appreciated that, because when he realized that this was an issue of health impacting the economy of Iloilo, impacting the movement of the Ilonggos in Iloilo City. Apparently, now we know that health is going to be an important aspect of governance in any city for that matter. And we are so happy, and we are lucky here in Medical City that good governance has actually made it possible for Iloilo to actually not only survive, but also to really be ahead. No?
Yes.
And when we talk about health, of course, we talk about sickness, but we also talk about prevention and wellness. And maybe we can talk. We can ask Dr. Debbie Uy here concerning how do you see health of the Ilonggos and how the Ilonggos look at health, especially after this pandemic.
Well, for one, pandemic actually presented itself in a lot of sorts of medical emergencies. Sickness from difficulty of breathing, needing mechanical ventilator up to strokes and heart attacks, those and the likes. Now, before the pandemic, the Ilonggos were actually into healthcare, wellness. But after the pandemic or during the pandemic, there was a change in how Ilonggos perceive healthcare as a need or as a must, that they consult their doctors, they avail of these medical procedures, probably because of fear brought by the pandemic. But after we survived 2020 and into 2021, we see also change in terms of Ilonggos now are beginning to go back to how they look at health as a fork or as a need that they need to also give time and appropriate efforts in terms of their health or well-being.
So let me ask maybe Prince here as the marketing director and in charge of the communications. With the Ilonggos now realizing that health is important and that the fear and the uncertainty that was caused by the pandemic has actually changed behavior, how do you now assess the market? No? How do you assess now the terrain of the public as far as their receptiveness to initiatives of Medical City?
That was a very interesting question, sir, because just last 2 weeks ago, we did a focus group discussion targeting specific markets here in Iloilo, the retirees, the millennials, bank executives, etc. And the findings of that focus group discussion also, the discussion focused or centered on their perception of healthcare during this time. And we can really see that healthcare now is on the top of the priority, unlike before. And it is followed by the financials. So it's a very interesting aspect that we can look into as marketers. And another findings that we have discovered during the discussion is there is an increasing interest on new platforms when we talk about healthcare. The drive-through services, the home care, and the mall-based clinic services, ambulatory. This is something we're very excited because we are also developing this platform.
So the behavior and the perception of health has changed. The behavior of the Ilonggos have changed, and I think everyone else, the Filipinos, have changed. And now that Medical City Iloilo is in collaboration, very close collaboration with the local government, and also with the healthcare industry, there has to be a sustained effort to make sure that the gains, ironically, the gains of the pandemic is sustained. No? So how do you now see, in terms of governance of Medical City Iloilo, in terms of the leadership of Medical City Iloilo, not only in terms of collaboration with the public, but also in collaboration with the internal community?
Okay, the internal community, of course, actually, one of the things that pushed us forward is the fact that we have mentally prepared for this even before it came to our shores, because we have been talking about the possibility of having the pandemic here in the Philippines after it was announced in Wuhan. So we were more or less actually prepared by 2019, last quarter of 2019. And of course, the primary preparation that's really important is the mental preparation of not just the doctors, but also our staff, our nurses, and the rest of the people we have in the hospital, because we have to show as leaders leaders, we have to show them that we are more than ready, we are prepared, and we should not be scared and afraid of having to face patients that come to us for help if they have COVID-19 disease. So this alone has shown how strong, resilient, and how brave our own staff in the medical city.
Ironically, however, Felix, when fear took over, they were afraid to go to the hospital, and they were afraid of the nurses and the healthcare workers, and then they started behaving very, very negatively towards the healthcare workers initially, and I think that that also was expected, but it's something that eventually they realized that the heroes here were the healthcare workers. I would like to ask you now, Debbie, as far as the doctors are concerned, the doctors, the medical profession, are not necessarily spared from the fear and the uncertainty and the misbehavior, and so I'd like to ask you, how was it? How has it been so far?
Well, during the first few months of 2020, when we had our first case in March, that was in 2020, well, TMC Iloilo actually was the first hospital to cater to Western Visayas' second patient and Panay Island's first COVID patient. And that patient actually survived COVID. But it affected the perception of doctors alike and the entire community. TMC Iloilo was actually known to sort of infected
the COVID hospital.
COVID hospital, and they were afraid to go near TMC Iloilo and even interact with all our healthcare workers. But I think the first action that we did was to talk to them and discuss with them the fear that they had and the exact uncertainty or the exact details. Why are they afraid to go to TMC Iloilo? And with that discussion, we presented our action plans, and we assured them that TMC Iloilo know what we are doing, and we know how to handle these patients. We know how to handle also non-COVID patients, COVID patients, our healthcare workers who handle COVID patients, and those things. And eventually, they were also their confidence. They got their confidence back in terms of or admitting their patients back to TMC Iloilo and trust in.
Well, because ironically, in the hospital in Medical City Iloilo and Medical City Ortigas and all the other Medical City enterprise, actually the safest places would be the Medical City hospitals, because you go around, you go to the supermarket, you go to the public. That's where a lot of the infections and the transmission were happening, not in the hospital, no? And in the hospital, we have all the precautions and we have all the PPEs and everything. So it was really a good example of what happens when people don't have the evidence or the data or the correct information, and they are making decisions based on fear. No? And I'm sure and I hope that at this point that has already dissipated, no? Because we don't have any more COVID cases in the hospitals, and the COVID cases are walking around among those, especially among those who are unvaccinated without symptoms outside. So, in other words, after almost 20 months, no, people have learned a lot. No? Now, moving forward, how do you see Medical City moving forward now? Let's forget about COVID, because I think people are going to learn to live with COVID, right?
Yes.
I don't think COVID will really disappear totally, but with the vaccination, I hope it actually just kind of improved in terms of symptoms. A lot of them now are becoming mild and asymptomatic. Now, let's putting that behind us. Where is Medical City in 2022?
We're looking at Medical City in 2022 as still the leading healthcare institution in the region, of course, and we have gotten that recognition, whether expressed or not, through the patients that we have. And looking at the patients that we catered to in the past 1.5 years, and because of course, if we go back to the cases of COVID, you can actually see that the patients who wanted to be admitted at the Medical City wanted to be there for one very specific reason: to survive. So looking at the Medical City as a place where you would survive, get out of the hospital alive, that will also translate into the other services that we're offering, especially the cardiovascular services, the neurologic services.
The strokes, no?
Yes, the strokes. It means we're actually showing people, our clients, we're showing them that our outcomes are really good. So if we maintain that, we're able to lead the healthcare industry in Iloilo. And since we are quite an innovative group, we can come up with more things to offer, and not just in hospital services, but also out of hospital services, wherein people do not even need to see us physically within the hospital walls. And we can just give or bring the services to them. We can bring it to their homes. We can bring it to wherever hotel they're staying in. And because of that, we see that it's easier for the Medical City Iloilo to actually adapt to the changing times, because COVID itself has given us a lot of obstacles and challenges, wherein if we're not able to adapt, we're going to be left behind. But I do not see Medical City Iloilo being left behind, considering we have creative people who can think out of the box, people who are very resilient and efficient.
Okay. Now, you did mention the impact of education, and I think education is the core of what marketing should be. You know, you inform the public of what the truth is and what realities are. And so in what way are you going to push through with education, public education, where Medical City can actually be a leader? No?
Well, we can continue, sir, utilizing our existing platforms and expand our platforms, most especially in the digital area, because that's the future of...
no, it's already the present.
Yeah, it's the present of healthcare communication, and this is something that we need to grow. We need to provide, we will continue to provide correct information, not just here in Iloilo, but the entire Western Visayas. And this...
Come to think of it, once you go digital, you don't talk about geography anymore, because the world really becomes so small, and the message gets across anyway.
And the challenge only is for you to come up with enticing messages, so to attract our clients and our customers, because there's already a lot of information in the digital world. So how do you make, or how do you come up with something that's very enticing?
Yeah, but enticing can be a dangerous word. No, the important thing there is that you create value. What we present for the public is the value that we have, no? And that's the real marketing that we would like to have. Now, the doctors are going to be key, really key in this, no? And when it talks about medical education and educating patients and partnerships with patients, the doctors play a key role here. No? How do you now assess the members of the medical staff, Debbie?
Yes, sir. I believe that doctors really are key drivers in how we expand or we reach out to our clients or our patients. Now, the good thing with the TMC Iloilo family is that our doctors are actually active and they are into patient education. We have a lot of roster of specialists who are very readily available when we ask them to give out forum or lectures, and the activities of the hospital, they are very much engaged. So slowly or somehow, once we expand our programs, we are sure that we have the engagement and the support of our doctors.
There you have it. And when we talk about patient partnership, I think we cannot just say that it applies to all the other hospitals. We put a premium on patient partnership, and we really make sure that the members of our medical staff not only know how to give care and quality care, but also show compassion. No? And I think that's the word enticing. You come to Medical City, you get treated like human beings, you get respected, you are asked for your opinion, you are given the education, and your decision matters as well. So I think everything is going up for Medical City Iloilo, regardless. And also, I think because of the COVID, people now realize, it has to have some degree of a little difficulty. People go through difficulty for them to appreciate the things that they took for granted in the past.
Yes, that's
and
true.
Now they realize that the pandemic actually brought up the kind of quality and the kind of value that people who matter actually can provide.
Yes.
And people who matter is Medical City Iloilo. That is a biased announcement, but that's the truth.
And
So-
may I add something,
Yes,
sir? And one more thing about us probably being more successful about moving forward is we don't really look at the competition. What we look more at is the people we serve, because what we do on a daily basis is try to think of ways where we can improve services to make it more convenient for them. We can improve services to increase our good outcomes, our great outcomes, and that is regardless of whether we have competitive hospitals around or not. So it's still all about the patient, how we can give them the best services as much as possible. So I think that is also where we are different from the rest.
Well, it's a good thing. That's a good way to close this. We are driven by the things that we feel are of value, and we are not doing these things because other people are doing them, or we would like to compete with them. No, we are doing this because this is necessary, and we are actually competing against ourselves to always be better and better in every way, every day. I like to say that. We keep on getting better and better every day in every way.
Yes.
And that's Medical City for you. And that's the reason why I like coming here in Iloilo. I get better when I am here in Iloilo. With that, I'd like to thank Prince, Debbie, and Felix.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank everyone for this opportunity to visit you here and to keep tab, not only also be abreast with the changes that are happening here. You are actually in cadence and in synchrony with the progress of the city. And I'm sure Mayor Jerry Treñas is also proud of Medical City Iloilo.
As we are proud of him.
Okay. There you go, Mayor Jerry Treñas. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.